Most developers use Claude Code like a chatbot. They type a prompt, it responds back. But there's an entire extension layer that 99% of developers don't even use. Today, I'm going to walk you through the full feature map to show you from the official documents why each feature should be used so that you're not guessing when you're working on your Claude Code. First of all is CLAUDE.md, which is your brain. You define the rules for your agent so that it can follow what you want it to do. Secondly, a skill. Skill is something that you train your model by giving a set of instructions that it has to follow every time whenever you deploy that skill. Third is MCP. Think of it as a something that provides your model to connect with the outside world. Then we have agent teams. Agent teams is something is in beta at the moment. However, you can deploy multiple isolated agents that have their own context and they can talk to each other. So if you want something that you want to work on independently but communicate together, you'll be using this. Then we have subagents. Subagents come in handy whenever you want to have a separate context from your main context so that you do not bloat your main context. Last is the hooks. Hooks are a automated trigger. Whenever something happens, it will run the script. Think of these 6 tools on a workbench. Each one does a different job. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which one to reach for. Now let's move on to the Claude.md file. It is a file that has all the rules inside it. Whatever you want your Claude to know, you should write it in here so that it knows whenever you write a command. This is one difference between a skill. So Claude.md will always be loaded, it will stay there, it will know all the rules so that your model does not get confused. However, skills on the other hand are only loaded whenever you need them. So that means that anything that you want your Claude to know always would be put in the Claude.md. And if you need something to be done with a specific thing, you can use skills or deploy them by using /deploy. Now I can also do it here, which I will do. First of all, open the Claude. As soon as the Claude opens, we can look at it, how we can deploy the skill. Now that I have the Claude door open, we can write /deploy, and then you'll see it shows writing skills. I will click on this one, press enter, and it should load up that skill. As soon as it loads up that skill, now it knows what that skill is, so that whenever you give it a command, anything that you want it to write, it will know how to do it. So it would follow those instructions so that you can do your repeatable task on a effective manner and consistent with your work. Between a skill. So Claude.md will always be loaded, it will stay there, it will know all the rules so that your model does not get confused. However, skills on the other hand are only loaded whenever you need them. So that means that anything that you want your Claude to know always would be put in the Claude.md. And if you need something to be done with a specific thing, you can use skills or deploy them by using /deploy. Now I can also do it here, which I will do. First of all, open the Claude. As soon as the Claude opens, we can look at it, how we can deploy the skill. Now that I have the Claude door open, we can write /deploy, and then you'll see it shows writing skills. I will click on this one, press enter, and it should load up that skill. As soon as it loads up that skill, now it knows what that skill is, so that whenever you give it a command, anything that you want it to write, it will know how to do it. So it would follow those instructions so that you can do your repeatable task on a effective manner and consistent with your work. Now that you know how Claude.md and skills make your model more predictable, there are times when we need a Claude to interact with the outside world. This is where MCP comes in. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. You can use them in your project to connect with any outside source. For instance, if you want your model to interact with a Supabase, you would connect it with the MCP so that your model can understand the schema of your database and then write the code. Now, if you were to connect, you could go to your anti-gravity, and on this, you can click on MCP servers on the right. You can see we have a lot of different types of MCPs that we can use. But currently, we want a Supabase. So if I write Supabase, you click on this one, you see there's an option for install. Once you install this, you can authenticate it easily by going to your Supabase website, and then it will be connected. That is the same thing that I can do here. If I write connect to Supabase, Claude is going to ask me for authentication, and then Claude will be connected with the Supabase. So MCPs are really helpful so that you can use your model to interact with the outside platforms like Cloud Run. If you want to deploy your project to a Google Cloud, this is very helpful so that you don't have to do those things by yourself, and your model gets to know the outside world so that it can make sure your code interacts and works correctly. Now that we have discussed 4 features that are provided by the Claude Code, there is one more thing that is really important for your AI model, which is the context window. Think of it as a brain that you have that has a certain extent of capabilities and threshold on which you can retain that memory for that time. Your Claude Code works the same way. For instance, if you use your Claude Code to read 30 files, then it can bloat the whole context. Now we can counter this effect by using subagents. Subagents work on a task that are given and return the context back, meaning subagents have their own context, which is isolated from the main agent, and then whenever they have done something, they will return the whole context back of what they have done. This helps to perform a task and not let your context be bloated while working on large tasks that require big amounts of data. In the end, we're going to talk about the agent teams that are independent Claude Code sessions that can work on their own. However, if you deploy more than 2-3 agent teams, they can communicate with each other, perform the task, and then get the task completed. Now, this is the difference between subagents and agent teams. Agent teams can communicate, they have separate contexts. However, subagents, on the other hand, have their own isolated context. However, they can't communicate with each other if you deploy more than 2-3 sub-agents. This is a big difference on helping which one you should pick whenever you're doing your task. Now we're just gonna look over this table that shows different aspects for sub-agent and agent teams. So in terms of context, sub-agent and agent teams have their own context, but sub-agent returns to its caller. On communication, subagent will return back the context to the main agent, but agent teams, they can communicate with each other while working on the task, meaning they can work parallel with each other, talk to each other to keep working on the task. In terms of coordination, main agent manages all the work for subagents, but agent teams have a shared list with which they self-coordinate. Why subagent is best in some cases where you have focused tasks and you want the result back. However, with the agent teams, it can work with complex requiring discussion and collaboration. The token cost on the subagent is lower as the result is summarized back to the main agent. However, for the agent teams, since it can work with parallel, talk to each other, and which would cost more tokens, so both of them are regarding the concept if you're using more than 2 subagents or 3 subagents or agent teams requiring the task to be completed. Don't worry about configuring all of this in day 1. As you go along, you will understand the specifics of these tools and build incrementally. Each feature will earn its place whenever it solves a pain problem in your task. The full documentation link is in the description below, and if you want me to go deeper any of these topics, I can always go them. Just make sure you comment below, and if this saves you time, subscribe as I go through the developer tooling docs so you don't have to.